entire forest ecosystem. The structure of a forest canopy, with its dense layering of leaves, branches, and trunks, influences how heat is absorbed and released. This is where forest design becomes a form of natural engineering, as the spatial arrangement of trees maximizes energy capture and minimizes heat loss. Much like insulation in human-engineered buildings, the layering of the canopy creates varying zones of light and temperature, allowing different species of plants and animals to thrive in specific niches. From a thermodynamics perspective, the forest operates as a multi-phase system where energy is constantly being exchanged between different mediums: air, water, plant tissue, and transformed through physical processes like conduction, convection, and radiation. Moreover, the forest floor plays a crucial role in the thermal regulation of the entire ecosystem. As sunlight penetrates the canopy, it heats the soil, but much of this heat is absorbed by the organic layer of leaf litter and humus, which acts as a natural insulator. This insulating layer slows down the transfer of heat from the surface to deeper soil layers, maintaining a relatively stable temperature underground. The principles of heat conduction are at play here, where the thermal conductivity of soil and organic matter dictates how heat moves through the ground. Engineers can study these natural systems to design better insulating materials, particularly in passive building designs where energy efficiency is critical. The slow release of heat from the forest floor during the night also helps to stabilize the temperature within the forest, reducing extreme temperature fluctuations that could disrupt the ecosystem. This concept of thermal inertia, where materials resist changes in temperature, is another area where the forest serves as a model for human-engineered systems designed to maintain thermal stability. The interactions between forests and atmospheric systems also involve complex fluid dynamics principles. Wind flowing through the forest canopy experiences resistance due to the density of branches and leaves, which slows the air down, creating turbulence. This turbulence enhances the mixing of air layers, promoting the exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide between the forest and the atmosphere. The aerodynamic properties of the forest, such as the drag coefficient of trees and the roughness of the canopy, are critical in determining how winds are deflected or absorbed. This flow regulation mimics the principles behind engineering windbreaks or turbulence-reducing devices in urban environments. The way forests manage wind flow is a key factor in preventing soil erosion and maintaining local weather patterns. By breaking up strong wind currents, forests protect the soil from the erosive forces of wind, much like how engineers design barriers or use textured surfaces to reduce the force of wind on structures. Forests act as natural fluid dynamic systems that manage airflow, ensuring that the physical forces of wind do not disrupt the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Lastly, the hydrological cycle within forests is governed by both engineering principles and physical laws. The forest acts as a massive sponge, absorbing rainfall and storing water in the soil and plant tissues. The roots of trees not only anchor them in place but also channel water deeper into the ground, where it is stored in aquifers. This process of water filtration and retention demonstrates natural engineering at its finest, as forests prevent surface runoff, reduce flooding, and ensure a stable water supply. The movement of water through the forest is an example of fluid mechanics in action, where the permeability of the soil, the porosity of organic matter, and the capillary action in plant tissues all contribute to the regulation of water flow. The concept of hydraulic conductivity, which describes how easily water can move through porous materials, is key to understanding how forests manage water resources. Engineers studying sustainable water management can learn from these natural processes to design systems that mimic the forest's ability to capture, filter, and store water, ensuring that water resources are used efficiently and sustainably. In sum, forests serve as a remarkable intersection of engineering and physics, where energy, matter, and forces are continuously balanced and optimized for the survival of the ecosystem. From the thermodynamics of heat exchange to the fluid dynamics of wind and water, forests exemplify the principles of natural engineering and physical processes that are both complex and finely tuned. Understanding these systems allows engineers and physicists to draw inspiration from nature, applying these lessons to design technologies and infrastructures that are more sustainable, efficient, and in harmony with the environment. Through this lens, forests are not just biological systems but are intricate, dynamic models of engineering and physics at work. Building on the concepts of engineering and physics within forests, we can further explore the structural optimization that trees employ to withstand environmental pressures over time. From an engineering standpoint, a tree's trunk acts as a natural column, supporting not only its own weight but also the loads imposed by wind, snow, and other external forces. Trees, however, do not merely resist these forces in a passive manner. They have evolved to adjust their growth patterns in response to mechanical stress, a process known as thigmomorphogenesis. This adaptation allows trees to reinforce their structural integrity by thickening in areas subjected to greater mechanical loads. This is akin to the way engineers might design flexible, self-adaptive materials that can modify their properties based on external conditions, a field of study known as biomimetic engineering. Trees offer us a blueprint for creating materials and structures that can change and strengthen over time, optimizing their performance under dynamic forces. Furthermore, the physics of stress distribution within tree trunks can be understood in terms of torsional forces and elasticity. Trees need to balance the tension and compression caused by bending under wind loads. Their cellular structure, particularly the lignin and cellulose composition, provides the necessary flexibility and strength. The Young's modulus of wood, a measure of its stiffness, varies across species, but it represents the delicate balance between rigidity and pliability that trees must achieve to survive in harsh environments. This balance ensures that trees can bend without breaking, a principle that has inspired the design of buildings and bridges that need to withstand seismic activity or high winds. In essence, trees represent a perfect equilibrium between flexibility and resilience, qualities that civil engineers seek to replicate in man-made structures. In addition to mechanical optimization, forests also showcase fluid mechanics and mass transport in ways that are both subtle and profound. The movement of water from the soil to the leaves, through the process of transpiration, is not only a marvel of capillary action but also demonstrates the principles of cohesion tension theory. Water molecules are cohesive, meaning they stick together, and this cohesion allows water to be drawn up through the tiny xylem tubes in the tree. The process is driven by the negative pressure created when water evaporates from the leaves, pulling more water upward in a continuous flow. This is an astonishingly efficient system that moves water against the force of gravity without the need for a mechanical pump. If we were to replicate this natural engineering in human systems, we might develop more energy-efficient methods of fluid transport, reducing our reliance on external energy inputs for moving water in tall buildings or across long distances. Physics also plays a vital role in understanding the acoustic properties of forests. The canopy of a forest acts as a sound-dampening structure, with trees and foliage absorbing sound waves and reducing noise pollution. This is not just a passive interaction but a highly complex one that involves the scattering, absorption, and reflection of sound waves. The physics of acoustics in forests can be modeled similarly to how engineers design materials for soundproofing or noise control in urban environments. Understanding how different tree species, with their varying leaf shapes and densities, influence sound transmission could inform the design of urban green spaces that serve as both recreational areas and natural sound barriers. reducing the impact of city noise on human health and well-being. The forest's ability to moderate acoustic energy through natural structures offers a compelling case for the integration of vegetation in urban planning as a means of passive noise control. Moreover, the role of forests in thermodynamic regulation extends beyond their ability to moderate local climates. Forests act as massive heat sinks, storing thermal energy in their biomass during the day and slowly releasing it at night. This thermal mass operates similarly to the way engineers design passive heating and cooling systems in buildings, where materials like concrete or stone are used to absorb and release heat to stabilize indoor temperatures. Trees, however, take this process a step further through evapotranspiration, which cools the surrounding air by transferring heat from the environment to evaporate water. This is an inherently efficient process, rooted in the principles of latent heat exchange, where water absorbs a significant amount of heat as it changes from a liquid to vapor. Such processes suggest that forests can inspire new ways of designing urban infrastructure to naturally regulate temperature, reducing the need for artificial cooling systems. The aerodynamics of forests also reveal fascinating insights into the way trees interact with airflows. When wind moves through a forest, the canopy breaks up the flow, creating turbulence that slows down the wind's velocity near the ground. This phenomenon not only protects the soil from erosion but also influences the local microclimate by reducing wind chill and providing shelter for smaller plants and animals. The aerodynamics of a forest canopy can be analyzed using the same principles that guide the design of windbreaks or even the placement of buildings in cities to manage wind loads. Forests teach us that optimizing airflow is not just about reducing force but about creating conditions that benefit the entire system, whether that system is an ecosystem or an urban environment. Finally, the carbon cycle in forests is an extraordinary example of natural engineering that demonstrates the efficient cycling of materials. Through photosynthesis, trees capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store it as biomass, a process governed by the principles of chemical kinetics and thermodynamics. The energy needed to break the bonds in carbon dioxide and convert it into organic matter is provided by sunlight, a process that follows the conservation of energy. This carbon storage serves as a critical buffer against climate change, as forests act as carbon sinks that help stabilize atmospheric carbon levels. The way forests manage the flow of carbon, integrating it into a cycle that sustains life while regulating environmental conditions, mirrors the concept of closed-loop systems in engineering, where waste is minimized and resources are continually recycled. In conclusion, forests represent an extraordinary confluence of engineering and physics principles, where mechanical resilience, fluid dynamics, energy transfer, and material cycling come together in a self-sustaining, optimized system. These natural systems not only teach us about the efficient use of resources and the management of forces but also offer a blueprint for how we might design human systems that are more in harmony with the environment. Whether through the structural optimization of trees, the fluid mechanics of water transport, or the thermodynamic regulation of microclimates, forests exemplify how natural systems can inspire more sustainable and resilient engineering solutions. Through the lens of physics and engineering, forests are revealed not as passive environments but as dynamic, finely tuned systems that have much to teach us about the future of technology and sustainable design.